Hi there, everybody. Welcome to Season 4, Episode 28 of The Hard Truth, Inside the Football History podcast with me, Philip Ideson, and Darragh MacAnthony, the chairman and owner of Peterborough United. And we're doing our end of season kind of review, recap podcast. We've been away for a couple of weeks due to travel and playoffs and lots of things going on. But here we are. So
season finale.
playoffs. Yeah. How are you feeling right now? It's a few days post?
I think obviously at the time, to go back and run through it quickly, going away to Oxford, we didn't deserve to lose the game. We lost the game to a set piece. The return leg dominated at 70% possession. It was one-way traffic. I'm sure anyone who watched it, would have agreed. Sometimes the football gods don't like you. I'm thinking the 𝗛𝗿𝗱 penalty against Lincoln has cost us last year, with the great comeback, and has cost us this year with, if you look at that game against Oxford, the last 10 minutes, the stuff that was off the line, and I'm not one to moan about referees, but I'm sure anyone who watched that game, it was, there was a lot of things that just didn't go for us, and score a goal, you're thinking get in at half time, go out and give them a good scene to in the second half, and, give away a daft penalty again. And again, like you go over it, and this is something we spoke about. We do a lot of data and stuff, and I think we gave away 9 or 10 penalties this year. When you do things like that, when you do them, we spoke about it before the playoffs. Don't give a team the impetus by giving a penalty away. Yeah. Last year against Sheffield Wednesday, first 15 minutes, Joe Ward gives a penalty away. This year, playoffs again, give a fucking penalty away. And I'm not criticizing, players in question, hands or whatever else, but sometimes you gotta get knocked out by a shot, 10 yards from goal, and that's just the way it goes. You know what I mean? So, but probably if I was there, I'd probably fucking stick my, an automatic like, oh my god. Yeah. But, then later in the game, we've scored, and their players basically nudged it out of the goal with their hand practically. And again, you just want it, to go both ways and be fair. So in the end, Oxford defended like their lives depended on it. You have to give them credit. I said this recently, as disappointed as I am from fucking unbelievable home crowd and support walking down to my office, and you're disappointed, you're upset. But, first and foremost, I was like, the Oxford directors are there, and I've been in a situation where we've gone away and we've won a cup semi-final or we've won a promotion at someone's ground. And people have always been very gracious, in that circumstance. So, we made sure they got some alcohol and champagne to celebrate, and then asked them if they wanted their players to have some beer sent down to the dressing room. But you got to do those things, and you have to congratulate Oxford and Bolton, to get to the final and, may the best team win, because at the end of the day, that's playoff football. And, as frustrating as it all is, you have 46 games to ensure that you're not, worried about a playoff situation. If you can go up automatically, if you can do it that way. So big disappointment. Manager obviously very, very disappointed. The staff, I could feel for them. We felt, we'd do the business on the night, and it just wasn't to be, and it was just frustrating. And after you look back, then I had a couple of days away from it all, management, all the players the following day. I get away for a couple of days, away from family, away from football, but then I'm straight away. Contracts, okay, I've already sent 18 emails about contracts. This is what we're offering, this is what we're doing. We have a plan B document for recruitment. Spoken to the manager pretty much every day. He's not going away for another week or so. He needs a good holiday with his family. He's had a tough year off the pitch as well, stuff going on with family. So he needs a good break. And just basically saying to him, look, okay, I got it, leave it with me now. Let me, Barry and Liz do our work over the next kind of few weeks. And, the only thing the gaffer they needed for when he's not on holiday is to see players face to face. Yeah. That we're potentially signing and all that kind of thing. So, really, and then after I put up a video the other day, it was like the reflection of after the disappointment of the playoff of, well, it's been a tremendous season. It's been a season of so many highs. It's been a season of a lot of solidarity, a lot of togetherness from the fans, from the players, from the staff. It's been, after the year before and after all the crap thrown at us, I think, a lot of good building blocks have gone into it. And while ultimately you don't achieve your goal, we win a cup, we hit the playoffs, we fell just short in 4th place. I think we finished 7 points outside the automatics. And, you could go back and say, well, 𝐻𝐴𝐕𝐿𝐿𝐻𝐵, the games we missed him through ankle injuries, I think we lost 5 or 6 of them. So, a couple of games there, Hector, was suspended for the Portsmouth game, and there was a run of 2 games. We'd won 5 in a row. We suddenly lost 2 in a row. He wasn't. It's the little things, but when you go with a smaller squad because you're trying to get a salary cap to work, and for a club our size, that's the risk you take. And to be fair, in general, our fitness rate's been fucking tremendous this year. Our sports science, they've kept the majority of our players fit. So, and when I was in my office, I said to Barry, Baz, I've never gone down to the dressing room, but I feel the players deserve to hear a thank you from me.
Yeah.
So I went down, and obviously that was like not a morgue. I'd say a morgue was last year at Sheffield Wednesday. It was more, you could sense disappointment. The staff, were there were people nearly in tears in there, players. So I just went down and I said, look, disappointment's a word used often, particularly in football. And you're all going to wake up tomorrow and you're still going to feel disappointment. But I want you also to feel pride. I want you to thank your families for the effort they've put in, because it's not just you. I want to thank you all for putting a smile on my face, for putting a smile on our fans' faces. I want to thank you all for the efforts of putting bodies on the line. 𝐻𝐴ME wasn't even fit for the playoffs, but he played. He'd done an ankle ligament a couple of weeks before. We spent a couple of grand on a special bike to try and get him ready, and whatever. And that's people putting their bodies on the lines to play. I made everyone give Jono a round of applause and stand up in the dressing room. I made everyone in there give the staff a round of applause because of the work they've put in with the players. So, it was one of them moments where I said to the players that, we'll look back in time. Of course we will, with regret, disappointment, but the only way in football you can answer that is by you go again, because that's what our industry is. Our industry is relentless. You have to go again. You have to have that mentality. And I said to them, whilst you might wake up tomorrow still disappointed, I'll wake up tomorrow planning, because that's what I do. I'm not one of those people that goes into a depressed lull, don't know what to do. I have to plan. I have to operate that way. And that's how I woke up the next day.
Does that help not have the playoff hangover? Because I look at, you lost in the playoffs last year. We lost in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
We had an awful start, sacked the manager, and at the end of the day only just came short, but it was a real hangover period. You went straight at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
we expect to be there. We expect to be competing at I know everyone played it down last year, and God willing, play it down this year. That's fine, because you don't want to put too much pressure on a young group. But I would always expect us as a club, always, particularly in League One, is to compete at the top end of the table. And whether that's for a title, an automatic, a playoffs, that's where we want to be. That's what we always aim to be. My manager's, very ambitious. His staff don't come to work and work night and day to be, middle of the road. Yep. So, no, we don't believe in hangovers. We believe in, the season ends, everyone goes away and gets a break, refreshes, and then you go again, and you go with the same mindset. Our fans will have the same mindset. What do we want next year? We want good football. We want a young group that grows. We want some of those players to be a year older, so to be better. We want to entertain. We want to score goals. We want to win football games. We want days out at Wembley and cups, and ultimately we want to win promotion. And this year, like I said, we fell short by 7 points to Derby County, and these are clubs with 28, 30,000 fans every week compared to our 9. So we feel we do pretty well, and sorry, carry on.
Yeah, and you have a lot of hope for the future. So that's, you can come in, you can have a season like this, and you can reflect and say, well, that was our chance. But for you, you're always up there. You're always doing the right things. It's
absolutely always wanted to compete at the top. We've won multiple promotions in this league. We know. You can say next year is not as tough in League One, and you can go, well, actually, it is tougher because you've got Stockport are offering massive money, Wrexham are offering massive money, Rotherham have just signed Clarke-Harris probably on massive money. Huddersfield and Birmingham have got fucking big money to spend with a big owner and want to make a statement and do whatever. So every year we've been in League One, whether it's Sunderland, Leeds, Southampton, these clubs, we've always competed against that. Going back to even Brighton, I mean. And we've still managed to win promotions above teams like Leeds at the time. Yes, they might have gone past us eventually, but we've got out of the league.
Given season.
Yeah. So, and with my manager and my staff and our nucleus of players, and that irritated me probably the next day and stuff. When you just see stuff like local media talking about fire sales and this and that and whatever, and it's like, fuck off. Our message to the players, when Darren saw every one of them, because we spoke before he met every player, was no, there's no fire sale. Whilst there will be players leaving, like there is every summer, whilst a couple of players will go to some big clubs at the top because they deserve that chance, it won't be a lot of players like people think. because the ones that do go will be enough to cover our deficit and our retooling for new players. And we will give new contracts to players. We've offered new contracts to Josh Knight, to Hector, to 𝗏𝗏, to players like that. That we feel okay. Let's go again. You're still young. You're still at an age where we feel you need more time with us. So we made it very clear. Other players, a couple have made it very clear to us, look, the type of club is in for them. It's going to be impossible for us to hold on to them. So we get that, but, just because this happens, we do this every year. Every club does this every year. There are ins and outs. That's just the way it's going to be. And we've also offered contract to Jed, and a few other players, Manny. And we have a list, and we know what we need to do to strengthen. And what we're trying to do this time is that, can we go a little bit more within the salary cap if we get the right fees and the right business, where we can have a little bit more strength in the squad? So lose a player, whatever else. Okay, you're not going to lose 5 and 7 games. It's not going to make such a detrimental effect to the team. All those things. So we're trying. My job now is like a wizard at the cap. I love it. You're trying to make everything work and
getting in your spreadsheets.
100%. It's all I do. It's like right now, talking to agents, talking whatever else. Right. Well, if I give him this contract, then I have to pay him an extra 500 quid a week. That means I can't do this here, and I can't sign that player because there won't be. No, people don't realize. Last year, my CEO was ringing me just before the end of June, saying, if you don't do a bit of business quickly, I won't be able to register the 5 players that you've got pre-signed for the summer because they won't let us because of the cap. And I'm like, fuck. I was negotiating the Jack Taylor deal at the time, and I was hoping to drag it out another 2 weeks to try and get more money, which usually you do. And I couldn't fucking drag it out. I had to basically call time on it and go, fuck, I'm going to have to do this deal now.
Take what I've got. What's on the table?
It was a substantial deal. I'm not talking about like, it was a fire sale deal. I would have probably etched out another 150 grand if I'd had another 2 weeks or whatever. But I didn't want to lose those players we pre-signed for the summer. And if we couldn't file them under the salary cap, they couldn't join the club. So that's a rule. It's there. You can't get around it. There was no way around it, with our turnover. So I had to think quickly. So, and again, so it's putting all those pieces together. And it's like, okay, Josh Knight's probably getting offered contracts from a couple of championship clubs and clubs wherever else abroad. But how can I make him stay in the same? So you try and you put your best foot forward and you try and do those deals now. And what you say to the players is, look, it's not that we want to pressure you, but we kind of need to know pretty soon, what way you lean in, because otherwise we're going to miss out on other targets. If you say, no, we have a target B, C, and D, and if you hang us on for 2 weeks and then go sign with someone else, we could lose B and then down to C and D. So we don't want to be in that position. So, but there's lots to be very excited about. And there's lots to be, we will have a very strong team, a core team. You're still going to have the best midfield in League One next year, and Hector and Archie. That alone is a platform that you build anything around that. That is, I've learned over the years how difficult it is to get great central midfielders at any level. And, 𝗏𝗏 will be here next year, by hook or crook, because nobody, at the moment will offer a break the bank type money for him yet. So I'm happy that, sign a new deal, not sign a new deal. He's under 24. We paid a lot of money for him. We will get the same money for him next summer. I'm not losing sleep. Joel Randall, we have an Efron replacement, what I mean, that we've got in mind. Not some of the shit that's been put out today about us bidding for players and stuff, which is untrue. And then we have Malik, who the manager and his management staff absolutely loved. I think he can become a 25-goal striker. And if not, he can play also wide left. But we will be adding in that area, depending on if we do business on some players going out. So, no, we feel... And then defensively, of course, we have to do business back there. But in all fairness, we conceded a lot of goals last year. So that's maybe not a bad thing. So, so... And then we have some terrific young players like James Donnelly, who are going to be stars for Peterborough in the future. They work hard and they're going to get a chance in the summer. Donnelly, Mills, young Pemmy, Donné. There's 4 of them there alone that have got great futures, and they're going to, and we've signed a couple of youngsters that are gone into the 21s. So we're evolving and moving all the time. People seen it the other day. There's a 17-year-old striker signed from Peterborough from Welling. We've had him for a couple of months. He's played for our 18s. He's going to be a starlet for the 21s next year. The Kamara. He's got something like there, So there's always that next level up. And trust me, I'm not asleep at the wheel. We're having conversations. I saw a thing today about we've had a bid rejected for a player. No, we've had no bids rejected for any players. Do you know what I mean? We're at the point now where assessing whether those players, A, do they want to come to us? B, if their agents get above their station, we'll move on quickly because we feel what we do for players, we shouldn't have to overpay in wages for, say, a lower league player. And we're not going to get into auctions. Yes, Stockport and teams like that are offering probably more money than us, or Wrexham will. Huddersfield coming down well, Rotherham coming down well, but that's not what we're about. We can't pay 6, 7, 8 grand a week or whatever. It's just not who we are, and we're not going to.
So just a question, you said, the process of bidding for players. Do you wait until you know that there's interest from the player before you make a bid? Or are you making bids to start the conversation with a player and his agent?
So we reach out to the club. We try and gauge, is there potential for a deal? With lower league clubs like ourselves, there's always potential for a deal. We'll put a bid in to start. A lot of the time agents will kind of reach out to you. And it's not that you're tapping players up, but agents, have to give you a steer as well. Like, well, does my player want to come to your club? Sometimes you get an agent. We had an agent the other day say, my player will want this, 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 and this. And we were like, listen, we're not Real Madrid. And if you think we pay that for players who've never played in League One or above, fucking dream on. So any 21-year-old coming to us, it's not a payday. They get paid well. They earn well. All my players earn really well. This fallacy that we don't pay. We pay well, but you have to earn it. You ask any of my players, from appearance money to win bonuses to clean sheet bonus to assist bonus to goals bonus, we actually pay the best of those in League One. Not even the big clubs pay what we pay. I've seen players contract offers. So if you play 3 times a week for us, and with a young squad, a lot of our players played 50 times, they earn a lot of fucking money. So,
it's all performance.
It's all exactly, and it's not like I'm paying them a wage where it's the fuck all to come to work. They still, look at the players' car parks and the cars they drive, and these are all young players. They're earning good money. So even my manager the other day, when I was going through, he's like, "Fuck me, I didn't realize we paid that and paid that and paid." I was like, "Yeah, of course, we're not Mickey Mouse here." But there's also a lot. Like, I've had fans today tweet me, "Oh, you must have something special lined up," and Rotherham have signed this, and Mansfield have done that. And I'm like, "Oh, here we go." Season's finished like fucking 4 days ago, and everyone's already fucking crying that there isn't a signing or there isn't an announcement, that there isn't a whatever.
I've seen that for City fans as well. It's Paddy Madden signed for Chesterfield. Look at us being asleep at the wheel. We haven't announced anybody yet.
Like calm the fuck down. Like, calm down. I mean, like, really, I've said it in my tweet. I've been doing this 18 years. Like, calm down. Like, we know what we need. We know what we need to do, and we also know there are rules to it, and we also know there will be players leaving. So just allow us to go about our business. And I've made it very clear to Barry, to the manager, to Liz. Alan Swan's not going to like hearing this, but I'm like, do not have conversations about potential players coming or going. It does us no help. It doesn't help us. And I know Swanee's got a job to do, and he loves to get hold of Barry, because Barry will then start fucking sprouting, while he's on the phone when he doesn't mean to.
Where he's going, please watch.
And what you do then is, if you name other players from other clubs, you piss those clubs off. You alert other football clubs to the players we're in for. It doesn't help us. So unfortunately for Swanee, I'm going to try and keep it radio silence around the club, so there's not a lot of stuff coming out. Liz is going to be the Rottweiler for that. I've already warned her, to basically, button everyone else up. And we have to be assassin-like in the way we go about our business. And that's the best way to be. So, it is what it is. I'm back home now in the States. I've got, kids' graduations, got a lot of stuff going on, but I'm working every day. Offers, rejections, fucking acceptances, all that kind of shit goes on. And obviously we've got clubs knocking our door down to buy our players.
Now, you said, of course, no fire sales, just as we started that conversation. It must give you, given the last 18 months to, well, it feels like it's been years now, kind of the challenges and the well-published debt numbers, it must give you a lot of confidence that you have these assets in the building. So actually knowing that you have those assets in the building gives you confidence to invest further, because the worst happens, you have a lot of there's a lot of money there.
Listen, you've also got Sammy's probably going to get sold this summer. Ivan's getting sold. Those two things will not only clear out all secure debt we've got against our club, but probably leave more left over. Never mind us selling a couple of players for what our cash flow deficit would be this year in League One. So we're in really good shape. And even with those players getting sold on, the debts wouldn't all be cleared, because we got debt payments over time. There's nothing in there that you're not allowed to pay them off. Some of them earlier, you have to pay them to a contract time amount. So, but we're in. Now, you joking me? Like, people always laugh when I say our squad's worth 35, 40 million quid. You know, I probably undersell it because, you know, I know right now we've got, well, I'm not going to do what I just said about Alan Swan, but we have active bids going in right now from big clubs, you know, for our certain players. Do you know what I mean? That we know will move on. So I'm very relaxed about it. What I'm planning to do is we'll do 2 probably quick deals in the next 6 weeks for those players, and then we're good to go for the whole season. We won't be under any pressure whatsoever. You know, and I'm obviously trying to do our business in, so people don't think we're like, you know, Billy Big Bollocks with loads of money sat in our bank accounts. Then they start asking for silly dough.
Yeah. Does staying down, is that better financially for the club? Or?
No. We, you know, our cash hole staying down is in the millions and millions. Our cash hole going up would be nearly negated. So no, you know, you go up, you're not really needing money put in. You stay down, you're fucking needing millions put in, and you need to, you know, do business in the transfer market. And if we'd gone up, I wouldn't be probably selling 2 or whatever it would be. It would be probably 1, and that'd be just only because you know, Ronnie deserves his shot. You know what I mean, to move on. So you know, I even actually had a conversation with Ronnie a few weeks ago in his camp. I said, look, we go up. What if I made you a blockbuster contract offer? Would you stay? Thinking, fucking won't sell anyone, you know. So, you know, this, you know, you'd be a fool to say, you know, you don't want to get promoted. You know, last year, granted, we had a lot of old veteran players and some big dough gone into the champ we'd never have got rid of, and we needed a reset, so it was probably the best thing. This time, we would have loved to have gone up with this young group. But listen, the young group will be a year older. We go up next year. That's okay. That's fine. So we're very excited about what's to come, and you know, we're putting the pieces together. You know, I locked down our physio. That was a big one because he'd been approached with his release clause was met by 2 clubs, one in the champ, one at the top of League One. I think we got the best physio in the business. I said to him, his next move should be to a big club, not a fucking club in the champ. When you look at our injury rates this year and the job he's done, and you know, and you can throw in sports science with that, 𝐤𝐬𝐡, Chats, everyone involved together, but Chats as a physio, he signed a new 3-year deal. You know, so you know, to stop him moving.
Is that normal to have? Is that normal to have release fees? Or not? But for staff like physios.
Absolutely. Because people would look at our retention rate with our injury list and go, they've got a really good physio statistically, so let's go get him. You know, particularly clubs have suffered. So, you know, somebody did meet his release clause. So, you know, we sat down and we worked out a new deal, and he agreed he wanted to stay. And I can't speak highly enough about him. He's turned our whole medical department around the last 2 years he's been there compared to what we had before. So I just said to the manager, I'd rather have 1 less player in the squad to keep some of our staff. We spoke about this last summer. Our staff are more important, you know, to the fact of what we do. And, you know, we have a brilliant staff, and we weighed them in last year and, you know, to keep them and get them help. So we're very much all on board with that. And that's the way we'll operate. So I was delighted to keep Titley Chats. Do you know what I mean? When I thought he was going to get poached.
How many you kind of beyond managers, do staff have agents, or is it?
I don't think they have agents, but I mean, we've lost staff before. Like we lost Strax a few years ago to Celtic for like 50 grand. So I've made sure like we've put bigger release clauses in their contracts, you know, so it doesn't happen. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to keep losing good staff. Like when you've got a good staff like I do, when you look at the manager and you look at from Scarfy to Dale Tom, you know, right through to, as I said, Chats, 𝐤𝐬𝐡, you know, the analysts, we've got a team, even down to Melton, the kit department, we've got a team that are together. They all work to the same beat. They make the manager's life easier. He can go to work knowing that everyone knows what's expected of them. So it's really important that you invest in that side of things and try and give them what you can. You know, Chats wants stuff for his medical department. The other staff will want stuff for the training ground. We've put money into the pitches this summer. All those things are like key because that's their bread and butter. They go to work every day and they spend hours at the training ground. They spend hours doing this. You know, for our pre-season trip to Spain this year, we sent Liz out for a day to inspect it, to make sure the pitches, the food, the hotel, the privacy, you know, like I always say, best in class. These are the things that we feel give us the inches that are needed. You know, our new grounds people knew that, you know, and they've had people have like slated them, which was really unfair because they came in after the fact. But like we were getting to the end of the season and it was like we went up to the champ, we would have been spending nearly $1 million on those pitches. But being in League One, we can't. but we're still spending hundreds of thousands of pounds on those pitches once all the games are finished playing at our place. There's like celebrity games going on, and we're also spending money on 2 of the pitches at the training ground. So we feel we've cracked that. They're really good. We'll have good pitches next year, training ground there. We've got a lot of stuff going on. The academy, we've released a lot of kids. We've signed some kids. We've got some stars coming through in the 18s, even though they finished bottom of the league. We had like 6 16-year-olds playing the last few games. We beat, I think it was Ipswich the other day. With the women's team, the general manager was on with me yesterday talking about the new manager he's bringing in, the assistant manager, the change of structure. I'm waking up, and it's not just the first team, the academy, the women's team. It's just so there's a lot of good things going on there, but it all takes time. Commercially, Dawn was on with me today. Alex we got like the mega store we're going to be building out. We're spending nearly 600 grand on that. Things are happening around the stadium. Dawn dealing with like certain contracts, media deals. There's a lot going on. So it's so I'm kind of like, this isn't woe is me. You're just trying to deal with everything as you can in a it's like micromanagement best you can, and then move out and leave it to the experts. Chris Brewer during the playoffs was like, I want to do these prices. Great, you're the boss. That's what you think will work. Do that. I'm taking more and more advice from people who've been in those jobs a long time, instead of maybe before being a bit too like, no, we need to do this, or we need to. Okay, you guys know better. Feed it to me.
And it empowers the team as well, doesn't it, when you do that?
Absolutely. And we felt we did a lot of that this year, and a large part of that was Dawn, Liz on the football side, Dawn running the football club, that we got great people that we can trust, who are just fucking very good at their job. Some very good people, not under them, alongside them. And it's just keep getting more of those people. I'm finding as I get older, the better people you have around you and working for you makes life a lot easier. As much as I might have moaned about that in years gone by, like, oh, don't need to pay that, and I can do this, and I can do that. You change as you get older, you mature. The great age of 48, and obviously then the Barry Fry, who's like the best in the business, and giving him the support and making sure he's got everything he needs. And me and him, like, he'd be like, what are we offering this? And I'm like, you got the 4-year contract in your inbox. I sent it to you already. So, making sure Liz is on that as well. And, dotting I's, crossing T's, all that stuff. So, look, it's like I said, and I laughed, when the season stopped. Everyone goes off on holiday. Our fucking work starts now. Like, a lot of work starts now. Like, the next probably 10 weeks would just be like, even though I'll go to Dubai and I'll have a family holiday, whatever, it's going to be full on. So,
is this the most thrilling part of the year, though, for you? Because this is when you're building, or this is when you're doing deals, and maybe there's a lot of unknowns, but it's bringing together all these different unknowns.
Yeah, you're painting the masterpiece you want to paint. You're trying to give your staff the tools they need to achieve the vision. So I'm doing that with the manager. I'm making sure that, okay, what do we need? We need a dominant centre half, or we need this, or we need a striker or a presser. We need this winger. We need that wide player. We've spent the last 6 to 8 months putting recruitment plans together. Now we get into the weeds of it, and now we meet those players. Now we try and do deals for those players, and then we bring in the next generation of talent that's going to come into our building. You're talking to players who might want to move on, but there's still an inkling that, why don't you stay another year and let's try and win something else? And you convince them, and you sign them on new deals. So there's all those things going on. And I give an example like Josh Knight, he might have better offers elsewhere, more money. Does he want to move hundreds of miles away? Because, he comes from Leicester, he's not too far away. We love him, he loves us. We're not a million miles away from what he's getting offered elsewhere. So, or does he want a new challenge? Sometimes it's just the player wants a new challenge, but he's revered and loved by fans. He's loved by people at the club. And there's all those things going on. So that's just the way it goes. And, and then you say goodbye to players, and, a massive thank you to the players who left and who were out of contract. And to be fair, I promised to put a video up of 𝐲𝐨𝐝. So, let's do it here from the pod. Johnson Clarke-Harris, like I said in the dressing room, I said a massive thank you to him. He was a fucking brilliant signing for our football club. And whilst he hasn't been picked this year a lot and he hasn't played, the biggest credit I can give him is he's been brilliant. He's been great. He's riled up the young boys. He's been completely behind it. When called upon, he's come off the bench. He started in games. It would have hurt him not going to Wembley again and getting a playoff win. Yeah. He had one off the line. He's been, he's not everyone's cup of tea. Jono, there's a lot of stuff that might be said about him in the industry, but there's so much bullshit written and said it's wrong. He's been just fucking fabulous for us. I call him the League One GOAT. you know, because he is the League One goat for goals. And, you know, Steve Evans and Rotherham will suit him down to the ground. I'm just amazed he didn't sign a 3-year deal. If I was his agent, I'd flog his agent. He should have got a 3-year deal. At 29, he's in the prime of his career, and his agent should have got him a 3-year deal. But he'll do great for them. And you know, as much as I look forward to seeing him down the road, I hope he scores goals, but has a stinker against us. You know, but you know, I'm the one who picked him and plucked him, you know, and bought him. You know what I mean? It was, you know, I remember during COVID, the calls, and there were 3 main strikers to buy, and everyone on those calls were voting for a different striker. That was the next Doncaster striker. And I was the one who was like, data-wise, this is what we need. This is the player, you know, bum. And that's not taking credit. You know, the manager has obviously developed him, and he scored a lot of goals, but he has been fucking magnificent for the football club. So, sorry to keep cursing, but as a to say to him thank you, you know, that's not enough, you know. So we'll see him down the line, you know, in the future. He'll always be welcome back as a legend of the club. We had some at the game the other night, the Lee Tomlins of the world, the Aaron McLeans. He goes down in that special cachet of top talent that came, you know, why I own the club. So money well spent, a phenomenal career with golden boots, goals galore. And he's in the prime of his career, so good luck to him. And I hope he gets weighed in big time. I hope he's earning fucking 8-9 grand a week. He's getting his payday that he deserves. You know, I'm gutted for him. He didn't go higher, or he didn't go maybe abroad or whatever else. But it is what it is. And Rotherham are good players, so I'd say he's made a pretty penny there.
Yeah, and what he's done this year, and we've talked about it all through the season, it's really through no fault of his own that he found himself in the situation that he did. It was just a change of style. And as somebody who scored so many goals, who can, I'm sure, be forgiven for having an ego around the achievements that he's had for the last couple of years in League One, you know, you could have sulked really easily. From, you know, all the things you've talked about all year long. He's just been there for everybody and kind of taken it. And
he's been great. He's been great. And, like, you know, obviously we lost a lot of money when he didn't go in the summer and he didn't go in January. But, you know, I respected that. At no point did I ever say in January, if he doesn't leave, he's not allowed to be picked. A lot of people would have done that because of the money on the table. So out of respect to him and his career, it wasn't the right thing to do. And, you know, whilst it cost the club, you know, 600-700 grand, you just look past it because of what he's done for the club, you know, in the years gone by, and winning us a promotion and doing it the way he did it. So no, you're not going to hear me say a bad thing against him. Do you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, he deserves his move. He deserves all the good things that come to him and his family, and good luck to him.
Now, the other players that you've put on the transfer list, what kind of role do you typically play in helping them move on, or is that something that's really agent led? The point where you say, you know what, if you find somewhere else, then we'll entertain.
So Romany obviously is on the list. You guys would have seen that. You know, we feel a left-sided centre half at his age has value. So we don't, you know, we feel we'll get a good transfer fee for him. Whilst he, you know, he could easily stay, but the problem is a player at his age wants to go and play. So the manager has to make a tough decision. He's got a year left. You know, it's the right thing. Get some money for him, get him a good move. We reinvest the money. And David 𝐤𝐵𝐺 was a tough one. You know, he's done really well coming in and filling in for 𝐷𝐿𝐴. But we feel, again, we can make a profit on what we paid for David with a year left and whatever else and his wages. And we feel, okay, we bring other wingers in there and there will be a market for David. You know, both David and Romany would be 2 magnificent signings for any club in League One or League Two if they can afford the fee. So, yeah, Tshimanga hasn't happened for him with us. But we feel that, you know, he's a 30 goal a season non-league, top of non-league, or, you know, even League Two. You know, you get 20 goals a season out of him. So we paid, 300 grand for him. We expect our money back. The strikers are a premium to score goals. So that's just a bit of housekeeping, you know, a bit of money to generate a little bit of early business before we sell any high value asset. And again, very thankful for the contribution. But sometimes it's just like you've got a salary cap, you've got to build a squad, you've got to sign players, you've got to do whatever, and that's just by design. We have those meetings, and some of them are tough decisions. You know what I mean? The 𝐤𝐵𝐺 was a tough one for the manager and me to make.
Now, is there that kind of money within League Two and the lower half of League One to pay that kind of transfer fee?
Well, I think so. I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to win promotion from League Two, you know, you talk about an 𝐤𝐵𝐺, is there money? I mean, definitely in League One. I would imagine at the top of League Two, you know, if somebody can't afford, what do we pay for David? I think it was 300 grand. So if they can't give us a return on that for what he's done in League One. You're getting a winger in his prime who's going to create a lot of goals. It depends on what people's ambitions are. Are there teams in League Two with an ambition to get promoted? If they have money, there's business to be done. Romney is a very sophisticated left-sided centre half. There's not a lot of them out there with left foot. You know, does he have his downsides? Of course he does. He wouldn't be in League One otherwise. He'd be in the Premier League or the Championship. So, but there is a player in there. And like I said, he's very young. He's still in his prime. So, you know, people like Carlisle are spending money on transfer fees. You know, they're, you know, you've still got your Stockports,
the Chesterfields, the Notts.
Yeah, you've got League Two clubs. You've had, you know, have got some dough in. You know, you've got them. You know, you got MK Dons. You've got some big clubs in there. So, do they want promotion? Do they want to get out? Do they want to do whatever else? I think those are good players. Those are players who've done well in a top 6 League One team. So, there should be a list of clubs who want to buy them. So, I don't foresee any issues.
You know, from 𝐤𝐵𝐺 and for Romney, you know, both showed that they were top end League Two players, and you know, can make the step up. And maybe for Romney the step was too high, and there's somewhere that's League One. I don't know.
I'll tell you the problem with Romney. It wasn't the step was too high for him. He's competing with Josh Knight and Ronnie Edwards.
Yeah,
like, with all due respect, like, he's come from League Two. He's in against Ronnie Edwards. He's England's under-20 captain. He's about to go for millions. And then on the other side is Josh Knight, which isn't the side Romney plays. And he's very unlucky that Josh just suddenly found form, and that partnership developed quickly. So I think any other season he would have played 50 times for us last year.
Yeah,
so if you're asking me, can he play in League One at the top? Absolutely. Yeah. Without a doubt in my mind.
And when you're only playing, you know, once every month or once every couple of months,
it's impossible. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Ryan de Havilland, there was some people having a go at Ryan and why didn't we put him on the list and stuff. Ryan de Havilland's had to play third and fourth fiddle watching Hector and Archie play 50 games this year. And he's had the odd 21 game. Then you're thrown into the team because someone gets suspended and you haven't played fuck all games. He's 20, 21. Like, what the fuck? You know, we signed him on a 4-year deal. You know, we signed 𝐴𝐷𝐻𝐵𝐿 𝐺𝐵 and he didn't play for the first team for 7 months. These things happen, you know, they take time. You buy a young player, they don't automatically always go into your 11. So Romney will definitely, like, we will sell him and he'll get a move. And David 𝐺𝐵𝐵, same thing. Like, I'm not concerned about them. They'll get good moves, you know, and they're not on city wages. So it's not like someone can say, oh, I've got a fee I can pay you, but I can't afford their wages. You know, they're affordable players. So that's not me doing a sales pitch. There will be not 1, 2, there'll be more than 3, 4, 5 clubs for those players. So, you know, that's where we are with that. So, yeah, you know, I'm looking forward to the summer now. I'm looking forward to getting a break. I'm looking forward to putting some great pieces back in for the gaffer to have when he gets back at the end of June. I'm looking forward to players, you know, the fans getting excited about a couple of newbies going into the team. And like I said, I'm looking forward to some of the young players last year, a year old, are going to be so much fucking better after the campaign they've just had. So, no, a lot to look forward to. Really excited.
And aside from Spain, any preseason plans sorted and figured out yet?
Yeah, I think we've got 7, 8 games tied down. I think we're playing a game in Spain. I forget the date we got to Spain. It's around the 8th, 9th, or 10th of July. I think everyone reports back the 24th, 25th of June, do all their testing. We'll definitely have a game at our ground. We're playing some good teams. We're playing League Two. We're playing Championship. No, it'll be the usual preseason. It'll be betting in those players. Young players will get a shot at the title in preseason to get a look at them. You know, I remember like a couple of seasons ago, Harrison doing brilliant, you know, in preseason and whatever, and you just all that excitement about a young player and can they kick on and can they do this, and you know, so no, that's kind of our plans. And yeah, everyone will obviously get a break. The manager will go away, Liz will get a break, Baz will get a break while he's, you know, sitting on his lilo with a cigar in a hand and a phone in his ear, you know. So and I'll get a break, but I'll still work during my break. So yeah, a lot of things going on. So anyway, so that's posh. So let's talk Bradford.
Yeah.
So give me the juice.
Yeah, I mean, not that much to report right now.
Right.
We talked, I think, the last episode about just missing out on the playoffs. You know, 1 point in the end was all it was. So obviously thoughts go to next season. We did extend Jamie Walker today. So,
okay.
You know, that was an interesting one for me.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Because he had an option in our favour, and we didn't take up the option. at the end of the season, we went to renegotiate. And I imagine that we tried to renegotiate around performance or appearances, given the fact that, he's probably appeared 20, 25 games a season when he's played for us.
Yeah.
And so I was expecting it would be something like that, or, it would be time for him to move on. Because he's one of those players that has played very well when he's in the team, but, you can't build a team around someone who's going to play half a season.
No.
Whatever happened in those negotiations, I guess we didn't get what we wanted and decided that we'd just take up the option.
Okay.
So,
are you happy about that?
Today. I'm not sure. I'm not sure because, in that kind of number 10 role that he plays, there's him, there's Alex Patterson. Alex Patterson was, looked very, very good when we signed him from Harrogate. And then he was injured for the rest of the season. So part of me thinks, are we repeating mistakes of the past by, signing injury-prone players?
Yeah.
I would probably rather not have two who have missed substantial parts of this season, going into next season, because that feels like a risk to me.
100%.
But who knows what the other plans are. Aside from that, not much gone on, really. Doing a lot of work on the pitch. That's good.
What are they doing with the pitch? What are they going to do? Because obviously that was a real fucking problem like ours, but even worse now.
Yeah. I mean, the pitch is something that's never truly going to be solved, I think, while we're at Valley Parade, until we're in, you get in the Premier League and you can do whatever you want with it. But until then, it's just trying to patch it up. I think this time they're doing a lot more in terms of drainage and digging deeper than they've dug before, putting more foundation in, and just hoping that, that kind of helps it hold and helps it drain and absorb more moisture, more water than it did do this year.
Yeah.
And I guess we will see. It's been interesting how, we've had years when it's been awful. I don't know if you remember the year we got to the quarters of the FA Cup. It was about 2014, 2015. Played Sunderland on TV, and it was an absolute, mud bath. So it's not like last year was the first time we've ever had a problem with it. And then we go through, you invest a bit of money, and the first year or two you've invested, the pitch is good again. And, maybe you try and cut corners, or maybe you try and get one more year out of it. And I think that the combination of all those things with all the rain that we had last year just screwed it up last year. So, hopefully we'll have a bit more of a better experience next year.
And what's the juice on like transfer gossip? Because obviously people have got gossip around us with this player, that player. I mean, there must be something around Bradford now. Like what's the juice that you need? What you're trying to get?
Yeah, I mean, there hasn't really been that much. It's been eerily quiet at the moment. The manager talking around, saying the right things around the mentality and the mindset of players, not just the skills. He said he's somebody who, as a manager, he's learned. He said earlier in his career, he would just go in for all the first people that were available that he thought that we needed or that he needed.
Yeah.
And he's learned over time to play much more patient, take a much more patient approach. I think just a condition that, don't expect there to be a flurry of signings early on. He's just going to kind of take his time, see who's out there, see what's available, see what people want, putting together his.
Was there anyone on the list you were shocked about that, they were like, wanted to move on or transfer list that there was no one on there? You were like, shit, don't do that.
No, the ones that I'm trying to think exactly who got released. It wasn't a particularly long list because there's not a lot that's out of contract. We've got to move on people like Vidane Oliver, who's still under contract and on a lot of money, who's never really done anything for us yet, which is a surprise. He came with a lot of potential,
100%.
But he also G'd up Andy Cook, and we got the best of Andy Cook when Vidane Oliver came in.
Yeah.
So
and he's still under contract.
Competition does. Yeah, Andy Cook's still under contract another couple of years. We got Jake Young under contract, Boy Poynton under contract. So we've got a good nucleus there. I think we need to do a lot of work at the back.
Right.
That's where we struggled. Both out wide, the wing backs. One of the wing backs has been released. I'm not sure if he's going to get Liam Rydalge. I'm not sure if he's going to get a new club or whether he might retire. Matty Platt, who's a centre half. We've offered him a new contract. We're waiting on how that goes.
Right.
We had Sam Stubbs had an option that he picked up. Richie Smallwood had an option that he picked up based on games that he played. So they'll still be there. So there's, I mean, I would say there's probably 6 or 7 gaps.
Gotcha.
That we still need to fill for.
Right. And
it's very hard, when you finish the season well, that we talked about this at the end of the season, didn't we? You don't want to be blinded by 5 or 6 good games at the end of the season thinking, you know what, maybe they weren't that bad after all.
100%. It can be a false dawn. It can be like, particularly like, well, look, fair play. You guys ran it close. You gave your fans something to hang on to on the final day of the season. And that was important after all the shit that had gone on early on. So look, you got to give credit to the people around the club, the manager, the players, the powers above. I guess to see what David Sharp's all about now in the summer. So this will be the great test now to see what happens.
And his role, it's interesting, to kind of to watch what his role is, as much as, yes, there'll be some talent identification in it, but it's mostly, I think, the wheeling and dealing.
Yeah.
The administration side of doing it, the contract side of things. So he's not necessarily going in there and saying, here's 20 players we should sign and recommending them to the manager, because that's still the head of recruitment's job. But obviously he'll still have his own contacts and probably a good idea of the value of some of these players from his experience that maybe we haven't had in the past.
No, it'll be exciting. I mean, what about the League Two playoffs? That's a bit of a surprise. The 2 finalists, right?
I mean, it shows that MK Dons Crawley. I mean, it shows anything can happen in the playoffs, doesn't it?
I watched all the games. I have to be honest, those were the best games out of all the playoffs. Do you know what I mean? So it was like, they were like great games to watch. Even the Crew Doncaster second leg was a great game. I mean, I mean, fair play to Grant McCann, the comeback. I'm not his assistant's biggest fan, but I'm still going to say well done to Grant McCann, for getting them where they were. So, Crew, my God, Crawley blew my mind. I mean, unbelievable.
I didn't see those games because I was traveling. I saw the penalties for Doncaster Crew while I was on my flight home.
Yeah.
I didn't see the Crawley MK Dons games.
Well, you'd like to think, you think Crawley be favourites. It's more, I don't want to talk down Crew because Crew have done brilliant, but the size of the Wembley pitch, the way they play, I mean, fair play to the manager, the expansive football. We knew that when we played them in the Cup semi-final, that was going to be one of our toughest things because of the sometimes styles don't match up well. And we knew like Crawley try and dominate the ball. And they're probably one of the only teams we actually had less possession against. We were number 1 for possession in League One this year. So, and that was probably one of the only games. So, it didn't surprise me what they did. MK Dons, obviously, that was a body blow for them, and particularly the nature of the defeat. The championship playoffs are 2 shitty games, like absolute ball fests. I watched both of them, fucking awful. So again, I kind of think Southampton leads in the final, but don't discount the dark horse being West Brom. I think their manager's very clued up. You wouldn't be shocked. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Sorry, it's my kids coming back from school.
No worries.
So it'll be. I think there's a game tomorrow night and then Friday night. So and then I won't watch the League One playoff final. I'm too fucking heartbroken, so I just can't watch it. I'll watch the rest.
Well, I guess it's because it's your job, but fair play to watching the rest, because I know that when we've lost in the playoffs, football is done.
No,
I don't want to see another ball kick.
No, I know. I had to watch, so it's just like, but like, nah. And then obviously, I was right about Man City will win the title again. So, so that looks like that's kind of a given. I wasn't wrong about Chelsea either, was I? I said Chelsea had come good. So I'm almost like a prophet with some of this stuff, Phil.
It feels like it's been a very long goodbye for Jurgen Klopp. That's almost over.
I'm angry with the players.
It's not a good legacy.
No, I'm angry with the players. The players are like giving me the hump at Liverpool. Like, I watched the Villa game the other night, and whatever else. And they're taking the piss. It started against Tottenham, 4-0 up. He makes some changes, and it just all goes to shit. And Tottenham could have scored 4 times. The other night against Villa, 3-1 up. He makes changes, and he's got a right that he needs to, because he's got to play all these players every 3 days. So he's got to make changes. And he's bringing on players like 𝐲𝐨𝐿𝐴, top quality players to come in. And again, it's just, I've said it all season. Defensively, fucking absolute rubbish. Like, which is amazing when you got Van Dijk and Alisson in there and Trent Alexander-Arnold, but defensively, shocking. Like, I don't know how many clean sheets I've said this, that they, you know, they have a lot of work to do defensively this summer. I don't know about what Slot's ideas of defending and how they press and how they play, but Liverpool have got problems. And, you know, I actually think Jurgen deserves to fucking get away for a while, you know, because, you know, like I said to you, I don't think they would have competed on 4 fronts with any other manager. Now, if this time next year Arne Slot has them competing for 4 trophies, I'll look like a fucking idiot unless they've recruited some really good players this summer.
Now, this time last year, you thought they were 1 year away from competing. So, what's happened?
I don't know. I just think, you know, I feel for Jurgen because they've pissed away points in the last. You know, they should have taken this almost to the last day. When you look at some of the games, and I'm watching the Villa game and how open they are and defensively poor they are, and I suppose you could blame ownership that the minute he put McAllister back in as a 6 and took off Endo, and Endo's not a top Premier League holding midfielder, but he did a job. They haven't got anyone else to go in there, so they could put McAllister in there, and he makes a mistake that leads to a goal. So you could say they left holes in the summer. You know, the fact that Robertson is injured again or he's not available, and then they're playing Gomez again at left back instead of Costas, you know, the Greek left back. You know, there are issues there. You know, I don't think Van Dijk's been good the last couple of months, and I know everyone loves the goalie, and the goalie's world-class goalie when he's fit, and you know whatever else, but I don't think he's been at his premium. So, you know, there are players whose standards have dropped, and I said this about Salah. I think, you know, sometimes age gets to people, you know, and then the striker situation, you know. So there are things in rebuild. There's going to be things needed to be done there. I'll be interested to see how the Dutch guy gets on when he comes in. You know, I'm going to miss Jurgen Klopp, that's for sure. I just, you know, the Premier League is going to be poor without him. So I'm just gutted that his team are spunking away 3-1 leads with 15 minutes to go, and you know, 4-0 up against Spurs and rolling, you know, home, and then suddenly you're under pressure and thinking, Jesus Christ.
No focus, like giving up.
Yeah, I don't like to see that. So I'm sure he's probably as angry as me. He's probably held it back, but hopefully they don't choke it up against anyone at Anfield. This is Wolves they play this weekend, and they give him the send off he deserves. So, you know, maybe they've just hit a wall. Maybe they've played a lot of games. You know, there's a lot of injuries. You know, I look at United.
Did you start losing and getting out of competition?
I look at United and I see some of these things like United with all their injuries, and you're thinking these clubs spend millions on medical departments and sports science, and you haven't got one fit centre half. At what point do you start looking at? I was talking about my staff earlier, how good they are. At what point do you start looking at your staff? I'd say the same about Liverpool. The amount of key players they couldn't keep fit this year, and you know, again, the goalie, you know, couldn't play a full season. There's always something.
And you have 100 times the resources that you do to throw it.
Well, the muscle injuries, the constant like in and outs, the, you know, right through the sides, you've missed players for key moments. United are going through it themselves, but you got to question that, you know. But City will win the league. Arsenal, you know, ran them close. You know, Chelsea, I'm telling you now, if they keep Pochettino, if they sign an Ivan Toney, even though Jackson looks like he's definitely a prospect who could come good, they're not a million miles away from competing top 4 next year.
What do you make of Cole Pamer?
Wonderful talent. Wonderful talent. That's how good Man City are. That they could lose a talent like that and don't even blink. You know, what a wonderful talent. But I can understand with Foden, with some of the players Man City have, where's he going to get in and be the main man? And I think City have generated 300 plus million in academy sales over the last 12 years. It's not looked at, you know, as a club, how prolific they are with young players they produce. So they've got a lot of, as much as people have a go at them, I want to go on about the legal stuff and, you know, the financial fair play. If you look at what they've invested in their academy and the players that have come out of that academy and gone on, and fucking unbelievable. So fair play to Pep, to City, 4 years in a row. I don't think it's been done. To have that level where you keep climbing the mountain again every season when it resets, and to do it from January, what I always say, January to the summer, nobody can beat that team. Nobody. They just go on a run. And look, if they lose to West Ham on the final day, I'll be astonished. You can delete this podcast, you know what I mean? But I just
we'll go back and edit this bit out.
Do you know what? They're inevitable. Man City are inevitable. You know, you got comments like that clown Keane making about Haaland being League Two and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Every fucking team in the world would love to have the League Two Haaland in their team.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So, I don't know. You know, it's astonishing what they've done. People can go on about money. And then you look at it, actually, the money they've spent in their infrastructure will mean they don't have to spend 200 million in transfer fees every summer.
Yeah.
So,
and then compare that with Man United.
Yeah. United, what would they have to spend next summer? What would they have to spend? What would Liverpool have to spend next summer?
Yeah.
They need a number 6. They're going to need a central defender. They're going to have to replace Salah. They're going to have to replace Van Dijk eventually, because I wouldn't be handing him 400 grand a year at 33 next year. You know, looking at as people, you know, go down in quality. You know, they're going to have to get a new left back. You know, so what are Liverpool going to have to spend? That's going to be fascinating. You know, Arsenal are pretty much the finished article, bar maybe that centre forward for the goals, even though they scored a lot of goals this year. Chelsea aren't a million miles away. Liverpool have got to spend. Man United have got to spend. I mean, no, there's, you know, Newcastle definitely have to for their squad and being in Europe and trying to handle all of that. So yeah, it's going to be. I can't see anyone displacing Man City, Phil. You know, I just can't see it.
What do you think about David Moyes leaving? I'm looking here at the table. West Ham 9. You know,
careful what you wish for.
That's a good position for West Ham, and I hesitate to come out and say what more do you want, because you know you should have ambition, but he's done very well for them.
Careful what you wish for. They went down this route before, didn't they? With Pellegrini coming in, foreign managers. You know, they've got a foreign technical director. You know, Sullivan obviously gets stingy when it comes to English league players, as I saw when he tried to buy Ronnie Edwards. And you know, it's be careful what you wish for, because they could be a club. If they get it wrong with the next appointment, will they be competing in Europe? Will they be top 8 in the Premier League, comfortably staved away from relegation? I don't know. You know, they're set up to be a top 7 Premier League club, but I'm just not sure. So interesting times for them.
And what's been your biggest surprise in the Premier League this season?
Biggest surprise would be the Palace since their manager has gone in there.
Yeah.
What a turnaround. Great to watch. Score goals. You know, big turnaround from, you know, what Roy was doing beforehand. It was probably a snooze fest for a lot of Palace fans. Now you're watching them dismantle Man United. They've won 5 of the last 6 games. They've beaten some good clubs. Yeah, big turnaround. Credit to Steve Parish, the people at the top. They got the right manager. As long as they don't lose them, they're good to go. Yes, they might lose the odd player. They might even lose Dougie Freedman to Newcastle. That's been like rumoured out there as a technical director. That surprised me. Who else would surprise me? The Brighton manager, obviously, you know, where he shot himself in the foot, where he wasn't committing to the club a few months ago. And since then, they can't buy a goal or score a goal nearly. So, you know, I think that'll be, but that's a great club. And I think their owner, you know, he'd have to be very careful. So recently he was like, no, I'm staying and I'm doing whatever else. But like, you know, sometimes again, managers get too big for their boots when they have a decent start, and you know, that can backfire.
No manager's bigger than the club.
Correct. What else? I think you'd be remiss not to say Sean Dyche's the job he's done with the amount of points deductions they've had at Everton. Fair play to Brentford. They've had a lot of injuries this year. They've lost Ivan Toney for the majority of the season, and they've managed to stay up comfortably in the end. So, you know, big one. Do
you have any concerns about Ivan Toney's form going into the summer and him looking for his deal?
No, I think he hurt his hip a few weeks ago. I think it's affecting him, but typical Ivan Toney, he'd play with a dead leg every day of the week. So that actually should show big teams that, because you look at Man United and you're hearing whispers about players who've got little injuries, don't want to play. Players like Ivan Toney are men. He would play 50 times a year, half fit. So, you know, I think any club, sensible club, knows he's the best number 9 available this summer. I would love Liverpool to sign him, because Nunez is not coming off. You know, I think, you know, him in our attack, you know, that gives you a chance. Man United, they won't, because they'll probably go a different route or whatever else, but he's miles better than Højlund. And, you know, so there will be clubs in for him. I'm not sure at what level, but there's no doubt in my mind he'll get a big move. And I think, you know, having that hip injury has probably limited him the last kind of 7-8 games where he hasn't scored, or they're saying he hasn't not looked like scoring, but hasn't scored goals. But quality is like that. You know, what do they say? Class is form is temporary, class is permanent.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap up just with some questions.
Sure.
So Paul, who's a Millwall fan, First of all, was apologising that Steve Morrison was offside to the Bradford fans in the 2017 playoff final. That still hurts because for us, it's been downhill ever since that day. That was one of our lows, losing in the championship final when Millwall then invaded the pitch afterwards, which that was a long flight home to LA, which is where I was living at the time after that one. Yes. But Paul says he wanted your thoughts on Millwall changing the CEO and head of recruitment suddenly. Both seem to be doing a good job, especially Alex Aldridge, in Paul's opinion. Keep up the good work. I know a lot of my Millwall pals listen to the pod.
Yeah, I like Millwall because I love their owner who died. His son's gone in there. Maybe that's to do with, Neil Harris has gone in and turned it around, but they've struggled most of the season. So maybe that's why the changes have happened. Yeah. Maybe the owner's saying, well, that's not my expectation this year. We failed. We might have stayed up, but I wasn't expecting to be in a dogfight. So do it early. Sometimes, when are you meant to change recruitment and key figures? You do it in July, you don't. You do it in April, May. You get it done early. You set the tone going forward and you bring in the people you want. So I think Millwall are in good hands. They've got a great, person at the top. They've got a good owner now, the family. They'll be fine. I think, Neil Harris seems to be at home there, a bit like Fergie with us. So Millwall won't be struggling next year, in my opinion.
We have Darren on email. Darren says, if Posh were to sign a player for £1 million and paid in installments, but then sold the same player back to that club for, say, 750 grand, so less money, do you still have to pay the installments, or does it all basically cancel each other out?
No, you still have to pay whatever's owed, or you might do a deal and say, we owe you 500 grand of the original $1 million. You're now giving us 750, so you owe us 250. So you give us the 250 and we call it quits. So there's always a way. But like if I buy a player tomorrow and I sell him in 5 months and I still owe 500 grand, the previous club will get their money when the transfer goes through. So that's how it works.
Even though you're only getting the new amount in installments, so you end up
you have to make sure that whatever deal you do, if you owe X on that player and the new deal you've done, you're not getting X to cover it, you're not going to sell the player. I've had that before. I've had it before. I've owed a club 100 grand. And I'm now selling the player and I'm getting paid 200 grand, but they're only paying me 10 grand a month. But since I owe 100, straight away I have to write a check for 100 grand. So I'm not doing that deal. So my thing with the new club would be your upfront payment's 100 to clear the previous 100.
Andrew, a Bolton fan, asks, why do some clubs never disclose transfer fees? Is saying it's an undisclosed fee something that's agreed when the transfer is done between clubs?
Yeah, like I've always said, we're happy to share any fees. We never ever request in the documentation for undisclosed to be written in it. That's always usually the club we're buying from or selling to who asks for that to be done. You know me, I've given away figures loads of times on podcasts. I've hinted at it. I have no problem about anonymity or keeping those things a secret. I just don't think it's relevant. At the end of the day, I like to brag. So it irritates me. Years ago, they kept putting on Sky that 𝐤𝐳𝐝 got sold for $4.5 million. And I was like, you fucking liars. It was 6 plus 2 in add-ons. Ivan Toney. How many times I keep reading 3 million, 4 million? We've ended up getting 9.8 million for Ivan Toney. Because just 200 grand out on goals if he scores X amount of goals. So, all this bullshit you read, it's always fucking lies. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, why? And same if we buy a player and I see a figure and it's like, no, we paid more than that. Like, someone will say,
where do these numbers come from then? Are they just made up
it's
like whispered a number?
It's journalists sniffing around and then come up with their own assumption, and they don't come and ask direct. And if they do, I'll always say, well, it's undisclosed. I can't share the information. I'd break rules. And then they just come out and put a fucking figure down. And it drives me mad when I see some of the shit that's written. Because it's like, no, we did better than that. What are you talking about?
So then people think, you're selling them for nothing. Fire sale.
Yeah, that's not what we do. Never have done. So I'm happy to brag and share of the good business we do. On the shit deals, maybe not so much, but definitely on the
good ones. Alex asks, he's a student who's preparing to study law and achieve a law degree from university. Are there any needs or jobs within the football industry that value a law degree?
You're in the wrong country, I reckon. I've told my daughter this. She's going to college next year. She's going to do law. And I said, you should do sports law to come and work in the agency business. Because in America, most agents are actually lawyers.
Right.
So is there, in answer to Alex's question, of course, I have an in-house lawyer that works for us. Our firm works for us in retainer. We spend a lot of money with them. They're very useful. She's built her business on the back of also being in sports. We've opened some doors. She ended up on the FA board, you know, and got a lot of big clubs above us. But that was always the hook of give us a hometown discount, and that will lead you into the sports world, and you'll land bigger fish. So her firm have made money. If you want to be a lawyer and work in the sports industry, absolutely, there's loads. Agencies even hire lawyers to work for them. So there's definitely a market there for a good lawyer, you know, particularly a contract lawyer. So absolutely, you know, and you know, I'm to be fair, we've spent too much on lawyers the last few years, you know, various things, and I'd love a couple of years quiet on that front.
You need somebody who knows the EFL regulations in and out.
Don't be a smart arse, Philip. That doesn't suit you. So yeah.
The final question is from Che. Che says, it'd be great to get an idea of valuation of an 8th tier club. So he says, I'm originally from Corby, but also a posh fan. Just interested to learn on the kind of valuation numbers for teams at that level. He's talking specifically about Corby Town. But you know, I don't think it's possible for you to say, "Oh, that club's worth that," without any more details. But
yeah,
you know,
do they own a stadium? Do they own a stadium?
Level?
Do they you know have an academy? Do they you know? I don't. I mean, an 8th tier club, very little. But I know this. I know there are non-league clubs that are actively up for sale for 12 to 15 million quid. So you know, you could, you know, some of them are up for sale for 5 million quid. You know, I think Crawley a few years ago was sold for 6.5 million quid. You know, in League Two. So it depends. You know, what's your valuation? Yeah, somebody says to me, like, you know, why do you always value posh so high? Because we've got fucking, you know, I wouldn't take a penny less than 20+ million in League One because we've got fucking playing assets worth double that.
Yeah.
You know, or people, we've got debts. I'm going, our debts are like 9 million. Like, with all due respect, do your numbers. You know, if you've got a squad worth 40 and you got 9 million in you know, I'm sorry, like, and not only that, any buyer who buys, say, Peterborough, you're plugged in, you're ready to go. A lot of people buy a football club, they're starting from scratch and they're not ready to go. And correct. So that's where your valuations are different. I remember years ago, Mandridge sold Leicester and Sheffield Wednesday because he'd gone in, rebuilt them, they were plugged in, ready to go. And that's where you got big money for them. You know, if you're going in and buying a mess of a club with fuck all academy, no playing assets, fucking aging squad, loads of problems, underachieving, failing constantly,
don't owe your stadium,
unhappy fan base, fucking this, that, whatever else. Well, of course, the price is going to be different to a club the other way. So you know, that's what it comes down to. But the market's incredible for clubs at the moment. The amount of Americans and foreign buyers who are so in love with the Wrexham documentary and all want to jump on that thing, and the amount of private equity that's going into sports. You've seen with Leeds, you've seen with even, I think, Wrexham are selling little small tranches, you know, bringing investors in. It really is incredible that it's like a housing market that's just going that way, you know. So
do you see that as being a bubble, or are we?
No,
is it we're kind of a one-way trajectory?
No, I think it's one way because the TV deals get bigger. I think I think it's one way. I don't see it as a bubble. I think it's been going on for 18 months and keeps getting bigger and bigger. So I think there's, you know, I think Wickham were sold to a billionaire for like 10 or 12 million, you know, recently, you know, like mega billionaire. So no, I don't. I think there's a lot of rich people who see a football thing, and the people in private equity who see it as making money. And, you know, Birmingham's owners are going in and going to spend a lot of money to build in a new stadium. I mean, it's fucking a lot of money going into our industry. So, you know, for every horror story you hear, there's some good stuff. Look, Birmingham owners will get hammered because they got relegated, but really, compared to the previous owners, I think it's chalk and cheese that you're in Birmingham are in great hands with fucking some solid ownership there. So
play the long game for that one.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Birmingham are again and one of them forces to come. You know what I mean? So once they go up again, they'll go up again after that. It'll be like in Ipswich. So, you know, Ipswich, you know, on their arse a couple of years ago, not financially because Marcus Evans had money, but, you know, I think sold for 35 million, and then they've since had investment that value it at probably 200-300 million. So this is the game. This is the industry. This is the business we're in. I don't see it as a bubble. I see it as, it was why it was so important for me to sort all the posh problems out, get back to majority ownership, because, you know, people always go on about debt. You know, debt's okay if it's manageable. Debt's okay if your assets outweigh your liabilities. So, you know, if I was faced with a summer where I had 2 players under contract and I had debts of 8, 9, 10 million, I'd be like, oh my God almighty. You know, but I look at my club another way. I look at, we're going to accumulate more assets this summer. We're going to sell a few assets, you know, a couple of assets, and reduce a little bit of debt. We're going to be in a really good position cash flow wise. We're investing in our facilities, training ground, mega store, stadium, which will help grow. we've had our best attendance record in years at League One, and we think we can do better next year. So, and you're growing and growing and growing. So I think it depends the club you're at. My daughter said something to me a few weeks ago before the playoffs started. She was like, "How difficult is it to win promotion every year?" And I said, "Look, you do maths. So let's do this. Let's do the math on this. In our league, there's 24 clubs in League One? So there's 24 clubs. 3 clubs get promoted every year. What's the percentage chance? What is that? Is that 12%, 13%? So
that's beyond my mental arithmetic skills.
So do the statistics on that. So 3 out of 24.
3 over 24, 12.5%. Right.
So that means 88% of football clubs don't get promoted. 88% of football clubs don't get to buy a ticket, and have that promotion feel. So I said, so now look at it the other way and go, do a different data thing where you've got some clubs who bring in 500 grand on a Saturday when they have a home game. And you've got some clubs like us who might bring in 40 grand on a Saturday. Mm-hmm. Now go and compete to get players in. Now go and compete with that metrics there of 12.5% chance of promotion. It's probably for clubs our size more like 2% chance. Mm-hmm. And the bigger clubs will have 15 to 20% chance. So I'm like, do all those numbers, and I'm like, and then look at what we've done as a club in League One every year we've been in it. So, and that's not me trying to say, well, look how magnificent we are. I'm just saying there's a 12.5% chance every year to get promoted in the last 2 years. Sorry, 3 of the last 4, the last 3 seasons in League One have yielded promotion, playoffs.
Yeah, and so for us, by context, so here we are, 2024. So since 1999, we've been promoted once. So that's once in.
I don't want to end our podcast on that note, Philip. That's like the most depressing thing I've ever heard. So we're going to end this in a different way. So we're going to say to everyone, have a great summer. We'll be back in pre-season. Everyone, God bless. Thank you for the support. We're going to try and change a few things next year with the podcast and maybe do it on Twitter and release a subscription thing and, for people to get it earlier. We're definitely going to focus more on guests because we haven't had enough of them this year. I've got people who owe me IOUs to come on this podcast. Bradford and Peterborough need to finally do the win double in the same season as each other. Mm-hmm. That's long overdue.
And we need that hard truth final.
I was just going to say, we have a chance where we can get to defend our trophy and have the hard truth final and be the first club to ever win back-to-back EFL trophies. So, and there's going to be a lot of fun and excitement. And thank you everybody who constantly supports us. It's been, and a special mention obviously to the Robster behind the scenes, and also our star fucking producer and Bolton fan H, who no doubt will be jizzing in his pants at the prospect of Wembley. I'm sure he's going.
He's actually in Spain and not able to go.
Part-timer. What?
Yeah, I think fatherhood has.
He's not a real fan. He's not a real fan. He's pussy whipped. Not a real fan. Sorry.
I think he's very happy that he's not playing you.
Yeah, that would make him and probably their manager. So and I'm not trying to push us up, but the size of that pitch, Wembley, the way we play. But don't write out Oxford either. They're not mugs. They know how to defend, and they've got some good players in there. And that will be a fascinating contest. But like I've always said, may the best team win. I wish everyone in the playoff finals, whoever gets the finals, may the best teams win. Like I said, I'll be watching all of them, bar the League One. And let's see you all back in mid-July.
Yeah, we'll be back again, another season. We were just looking at the beginning. We got 28 in this year. So we've kind of averaged 28, 29, 30 a year between all the travel and all those things going on. So
considering,
thank you.
Take out the summer breaks. There's only like 40 weeks in the season. So I think that's pretty good going, to be fair. So we're on to season 5 next year, right? Yep.
Well, have a great summer, everybody. And maybe by mid-July, we'll have finally won the Euros as well.
Hey, there you go. Yeah, there's always a chance. No chance.
Yeah.
God bless everyone.
All right, have a great summer, everyone. And we'll be back next year. Okay, take care.